I was in a very toxic relationship where the person that I was with basically muted me in a way that made me feel like sharing myself and expressing myself and sharing just who I am and where I came from was not allowed, and that I needed to
Okay.
be very private and very quiet, and that, I shouldn't speak up about certain things because I needed to be more to myself. And so, what has also been a really healing journey for me when relaunching this podcast is it's my way to get my voice back and really prove to myself that that is not who I am, to stay quiet and to just keep everything to myself and hide things out of like shame or because someone doesn't want me to share my side of things, but more so to have the courage to really get back to being authentic and sharing my voice and sharing my truth, regardless of what other people think or how, other people will perceive that.
Today's guest is Tiana Wrightnour, a coach, a speaker, and the founder of Rauthentic. Tiana built a coaching business helping driven women step into their power. She was good at it. She helped other women find their voice, find their courage, and go after what they wanted. During that same season, Tiana was in a relationship that was doing the opposite. The person she was with expected silence. Sharing herself brought criticism. Talking about her past brought conflict. This woman learned to keep quiet, to keep the peace. A woman who helped others find their voice had lost her own. She was engaged, she was about to be married, and she knew in her gut it was wrong. Tiana walked away. In her own words, it was the most courageous thing she has done in a long time. She relaunched her podcast with one rule: show up and share, raw, unscripted, real. Not as a business move, as a way to get her voice back. Tiana joined Toastmasters, started preparing speeches, and secured her first national conference speaking engagement for 2026. Today, Tiana is rebuilding in the open. Piano lessons, dance lessons, a community that showed up for her before she gave them anything, and a podcast called Rauthentic that reminds her why she started. Today, we are talking about the authenticity, consistent tension. When to be raw, when to be steady, and how to do both without losing yourself. Welcome, Tiana Wrightnour, to the Memoirs podcast. Today, I have the founder of Rauthentic here with me, Tiana Wrightnour. Tiana, before we get into this conversation, I have to tell you something. When I first saw the name Rauthentic, see, in Jamaica, we don't pronounce the T, we just put the T. Rauthentic, I say Rauthentic, 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 right? You took two words and you fused them into one. There's an actual word for that. It is called portmanteau. Like brunch is breakfast and lunch, like smog is smoke and fog. You made raw authentic, raw plus authentic. That is your portmanteau. And it got me thinking about my own. Years ago, I created the word uniqual. It's equal plus, no, it's unique plus equal because we are all equal spiritually, but we are unique physically.
Mm.
That was my thought. And you just gave me that same feeling. So now we are two people who make up words. This is how this conversation is starting. So welcome to Memoirs podcast. Here is what we are going to talk about today. The theme is authenticity, consistency, tension. When to be raw, when to be steady, and how to do both without losing yourself. In business, you need consistency. If you made a promise, you keep it. If you said you would show up, you show up. If you said the work would be ready on Tuesday, it is ready on Tuesday. This is what people pay for. This is what builds trust. In personal life and relationship, you need authenticity. The people closest to you can tell when you are performing. They might not say it, but they can feel it. The longer you perform, the more distance it creates. Most people apply the wrong one to the wrong place. In business, they follow their feelings instead of their commitment. They change direction when it gets hard. They disappear when the work gets boring. In relationship, they do the opposite. They show up the same way each time, but it is a rehearsed version of themselves. The people around them get the performance, not the person. Raw authentic might be your word for the integration. Raw plus consistent expression. We are going to test that in this conversation. So here's my question, my opening question for you, Tiana, and this is for you if you are listening to us right now. Where in your life do you need more consistency and where do you need more authenticity? All
Mm,
right,
so
let's
good.
get the formalities out of the way. I'm happy
Yeah.
to have you on this podcast to chat. What pops to mind when you hear that question?
Yes. Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me on. I'm super happy to have this conversation with you. It's something I'm very passionate about. So your question is where do you need to be more consistent and where do you need to be more authentic?
Hmm.
So I think it's funny. It kind of for me it bridges together. I think I need to be more consistent with being authentic.
Ooh,
And
that's is good.
the reason I say that and why I named my podcast Rauthentic is to remind myself why I started the podcast. So
Hmm.
fast forward back to 2021, I had a coaching business and I coached women, mindset coaching, and basically just helped driven, ambitious women step into their power and remove any beliefs or fears or blocks that were stopping them from really going after what they desired. And my
Hmm.
intention for initially starting the podcast was no filter, no BS, no editing, just raw conversation. Don't worry about filler words. Don't worry about run on sentences. Just show up and share. Because I
Hmm.
feel that when we share our stories and we are real and authentic, that is what really connects with people, not the scripting, not the formatting. And when I started it back in 2021, it was my first time. And I was really just trying to be perfect. I'm very hard
Hmm.
on myself. I'm a high achiever. And I was like, okay, well, it's raw authentic. Yes, I'm real, but there has to be structure. I have to plan this out. It has to be organized because that's just the
Hmm.
person that I am naturally. And I really had to take a step back after relaunching it with the entire intention of why I started the podcast in the first place, and is to just be authentic and not worry so much about putting on the performance, having it super planned out and super organized. Yes, I have a topic and idea of what I want to talk about, but I want to just let it flow from the heart because I really feel that that's when you really connect with other people and they know it's not a performance. And so I believe that I need more consistency with just showing up authentically in that way. And
Hmm.
it's been a work in progress and I'm proud of where I've come. When I launched the podcast back in March, relaunched it. I said I'm not going to do weekly episode releases if I feel like I want to and I feel like, what I want to say is coming through me and I'm inspired to record, I'll do it. But I'm not doing it as a structure of every single week. And I started doing it, every week in the beginning because I was feeling inspired and I haven't recorded an episode in a month and a half. And my brain is like, you need to be recording, you need to be performing, like you need. And then I said, hold on, that's not being authentic. I've got a lot of things going on right now, and when I kind of take everything that I have going on and my experiences and I really take time to just like ground into those and pull out the
Hmm.
wisdom, that's when I go and record because then all of a sudden all those lessons are coming to me in an authentic time, not in a performative scheduled I need to put out an episode time. So that's my very long-winded answer of what I can be more consistent with.
No, that is a beautiful answer. I've never thought about it that way. Consistent. I have some consistency with your authenticity. Mm. But well, let's pull the string here a little bit because when you're open and we talk about being consistent, because we gotta understand where do they show up, right? Because I think I hear in business a lot of people like you need to be more authentic, and that makes sense, but not in business for me personally. Because in business, somebody expecting you to show up, like if I'm gonna see a singer perform, and that day that singer might feel like brokenhearted or whatever she feels or he feels, but I paid ticket to go see them their best performance. They gotta show up to their best performance. If not, I won't trust to come. I'm not coming to your show next time if like you're gonna show up on stage crying and doing all these things and not. So sometimes we forget the difference between the two. Now in the relationship place, well, that's when you need to be a lot more authentic because people expect a human being to be there all the time. Like show up so I can see you who you really are. I don't need you to perform here. I need you to show up and be you. So sometimes I think we forget that piece, but now your spin on it is very powerful. By the way, it's very powerful.
Yeah, and I agree with that, when I make a commitment and I say I'm gonna show up, like, I'm gonna show up, and, like, today, I woke up
Mm-hmm.
sick, and I'm like, "Hey, can we reschedule?" Didn't hear back, I'm like, "That's fine, I'm still gonna show up because I made a commitment."
Mm-hmm.
So, when it does come to your commitment in business, yes, it is important to show up, and we're not always gonna feel great, we're not always gonna wanna do the thing, but it is important that we stay true to our word and do what we say we're gonna do. And like you said in relationships, being more authentic, allowing people to see you and not putting on the performance is important as well. I think where it gets, I wouldn't say muddied. Not that I'm not doing coaching anymore, but when I was working
Mm-hmm.
with clients, I had many times that I was not feeling great, that I had to show up for my clients, right? However,
Mm-hmm.
when I have projects within the business and things that I want to do, like the podcast, that gives me more flexibility because I'm treating this podcast as a way for me to share my voice and to connect with others, not in a way that it's like a business where it has to be something. So it's more so I give myself flexibility to show up my best when I want to record and put those episodes out. I want to give people something that when they listen, they're like, wow, not just I'm just putting it out just to pump out content because that's what like the success formula is. Because for me, my intention this go around for the podcast is more of a creative expression than a business venture. And maybe it will turn into something like that in the future. But right now, it was my first step of getting my voice back out there after being pretty silenced for a couple of years.
Mm. Why were you silent?
Mm. So, without getting into too much of the details, I was in a very toxic relationship where the person that I was with basically muted me in a way that
Mm-hmm.
made me feel like sharing myself and expressing myself and sharing just who I am and where I came from was not allowed. And that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to be very private and very quiet, and that, I shouldn't speak up about certain things because I needed to be more to myself. And so, what has also been a really healing journey for me when relaunching this podcast is it's my way to get my voice back and really prove to myself that that is not who I am, to stay quiet and to just keep everything to myself and hide things out of like shame or because someone doesn't want me to share my side of things, but more so to
Mm-hmm.
have the courage to really get back to being authentic and sharing my voice and sharing my truth, regardless of what other people think or how, other people will perceive that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think other people will find that valuable because a lot of times, I mean, I think your voice, having a voice is like one of the most powerful things, and most people don't see the value until they don't have it. Like, wait a minute, I can't speak, and I'm not free to speak, and that shifts a lot of things inside of you when you don't have a voice. So you mentioned courage, and I like that word because I think that word is such a powerful word. And when you think about courage and the thing you've been through in your life, you can think about the first time experience, maybe a failure or fear or something that you had to show a lot of courage in. What show for you right
An experience where I had to show a lot of courage.
now? Mm-hmm.
I think the experience was ending the relationship that I was in, having the courage to do that. I felt very like trapped and felt very, um, yeah, just boxed in. And in a lot of ways at that time, I thought it was a fantastic relationship and had so many qualities that I was looking for. I was engaged. We were to be married. And it was really just knowing in my gut that I needed to let that go, but I was so scared for so long of what my life would look like if I let that relationship go. And the courage to walk away from that was me saying yes to myself. And then also the courage to start the podcast and do all of the things that I've wanted to do. It's just so interesting how I I've never been the type of person that has ever like, I'm very alpha,
Okay.
personality. I don't let people, like, control or tell me what to do. Like, I'm a free spirit. I'm gonna do what I wanna do regardless, and this was the first time in my life that I really, uh, didn't feel like myself, and I'd always
Mm.
had a dream of being on stage and speaking and, empowering others and being this big, figure that could really help really change a lot of people's lives, and being in the relationship, I then threw away essentially all of those dreams because I felt that if I were to go do that, that he would not approve. And for whatever reason, I wanted that approval more than I wanted to be authentic. So having the courage to walk away from that and start over and start to relearn how to say and know that say what I want to say and know that it's okay. Know that I'm not going to
Hmm.
be shamed or criticized or that I'm doing anything wrong or bad by speaking my truth has been like probably the most courageous things that I've done in a long time.
I am glad you're enjoying the podcast. Before we continue, I have a gift for you. Since 2016, I have read and listened to over 900 books so far. It's going to be 1,000. And I organized them into a library and I handpicked the top 100 books I recommend to my clients, my friends, and the people in my community. Books on storytelling, language, and personal growth, and building something from your own life. If you're watching this podcast and you're looking for your next great read, this library is your gift. It is free. Go to asheralbertwright.com and check out the 1000 book challenge. This is my gift to you. Now back to the conversation.
Where do you get the stories from? If not from some of those things that don't go right. Like this is something that I embrace, and it happens after you do the hindsight 2020 vision thing. It's like when you look back at your life, you're like, where do I get most of my stories from? They're from the thing that didn't meet my intention and my expectation. Like, man, I mean, those are some of the great ones to tell. Like, I had all this expectation, but it falls short. And and we speak about unhappiness more than we speak about happiness because oftentimes people love that drama. So and drama is in in the happy version of yourself, right? So
Yeah.
the happiness doesn't have that much drama to it, but the unhappiness do, and people love drama. So I'm like, if I want to be a storyteller, then oftentimes life's gonna put me in places where like you're gonna collect some stuff, Asher, and when you go back, are you gonna share them? And the thing that happens to a lot of us is that we are ashamed, we feel guilty, so we don't share those things that are so rich and powerful because they're not happy version. They're the unhappy version. But those are the best one. If you're an artist, you know what you can do with some unhappiness. And I feel like you're an artist. What do you thought?
I appreciate that. I do as well. And it's it's interesting like the timing of this because I do have stories to tell. And, if you go back 5, 6 years ago when I first launched my coaching business, I had zero fear and doubt or hesitation of sharing my story. And it's only up until recently with that experience in that relationship and also knowing that like I am on track to kind of be more visible, that is kind of pretty scary to
Hmm.
me that I'm like, "Oh shit, okay. Well, it's gonna be out there." And, I am a firm believer though, even though it's scary that, when you speak your truth, not only is it healing for you, but it changes people's lives and it helps them relate to you. It helps them understand a situation that they might be in and how, you can help them and that they're not alone. And that's always been a big driving factor for me is like, I want people to know that they're not alone in what they're experiencing because I felt that way growing up. Like I really struggled in childhood, young adulthood with, anxiety and just mental health problems in general that I don't really experience that much today. But during that
Hmm.
time, I felt like I am going crazy, like I'm the only one feeling this way.
Hmm.
And as I started to share and connect with people and hear their stories, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is not like this is normal in a way. Like it's more common than I kind of realized. And so it's important for me to have that courage to share my stories if it helps just one person. And even if that person's me, by sharing it, the more you talk about it, the more you heal. But one person outside of me, like, then I feel like I did my job. So I think that artistry is definitely taking your
Hmm.
stories, all of the good, all the bad, all the mess, and throwing it on a canvas and seeing what you get.
And we all know that suffering is a dominating force in the world.
Mhm.
Like we all experience suffering, most of us do, and we all experience pain. And if we really see the beauty of it, because I was talking to, I forget what was one of my friends, she was telling me about somebody that didn't have, I guess they was kind of numb, they didn't have any sensory, like they couldn't feel. I mean that
Like
you could
dissociated.
stick it, you could stick them with something and they won't, the nervous system wasn't working for feeling. And
Hmm.
they had a lot of breaking their bones, but they wasn't be able to feel. I was like, man, how much do we complain about pain? But without pain, we wouldn't know. Like pain is the most obvious form of consciousness. So if I don't feel the thing, then I can break my leg. Don't you know I break my leg, right? Break a finger, don't you break a finger. So then we realize that pain and suffering is important. The level of it you might want to level the volume, but it's so important because without it, like, you could walk and break a lot of things, don't even know it. If it wasn't for pain, people probably cut their nose off, cut their ear off. But because pain says if you cut it, you're not gonna look right. But just imagine if it
Yeah.
wasn't for pain, what would people do?
No, totally. I mean, that's that polarity. Like you can't have one without the other. And if we
Mm-hmm.
don't experience pain and also the lessons and the wisdom and the learnings that we get from that, then
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's we need that because I will never ever regret the mistakes that I made or the pain I went through or ever wish that it didn't happen because every single time I look back, hindsight 2020, that if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I can think
Mm-hmm.
of dozens and dozens of scenarios and moments where that has been the case for me, where if I didn't experience that, then I wouldn't know. It's like you don't know what you want until you know what you don't want. So you have to have a lot of failures until you can have your successes and know what works for you.
No, that is such a wisdom right there. You don't know what you want till you know what you don't want. And
Exactly.
here's even more simpler because if you ever ask somebody to make a decision and it takes forever, like I'm not a fan of indecisive people
Mhm.
because it's simple. I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this, right? You give me a bunch of things, I'm gonna sort them out real fast. This I like, this I don't like. But then the folks that are like stuck in the maybes zone, like, ah man, I'm not sure. Like, no, you like it or you don't like it. And that's it.
I'm the
That's
same
very
way.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same
Hmm.
exact way.
All right. I have a few maxims here or some thoughts I want to throw at you. I want to see how you respond, what comes to mind for you, so forth and so on. So I'm gonna read them off and you tell me what peaks at you when you hear them.
Okay.
So this one it says separate the process of creating from improving. You cannot write and edit at the same time. The editor stops the creator while you invent. Do not select while you sketch. Do not inspect. And this one comes from like the idea of like when you speak, what you say. Do you say it exactly like it is, or do you find a way to edit it for the person that's receiving it? So what comes to mind when you think about that?
I love this question. And I actually had this conversation yesterday. So back in the day, I was the person who, and I'm talking teenage to let's say like 15 to 25 timeframe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be
Mm-hmm.
36 next month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was always told by my mom, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I would always come off in a very, like, I guess, abrasive, aggressive way to people. And people would take me as like very strong because I just didn't give an F. I would just say whatever I meant, say whatever I felt, didn't care. And, and then it came from that to like, I realized that it kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I wasn't having like good relationships. I was having a lot of conflict in my life. So then I switched from that to really tiptoeing around everything that I said, making sure I could like really, if I say it this way, maybe they won't think that I'm like bitchy or like abrasive or aggressive or whatever. And then, I did that for a while, and then I was just, like, this super nice, like, person that just put up with a bunch of BS and then kind of got walked all over. So, I've had both ends of the spectrum. Where I'm at now is I take a moment to slow down to think about what I'm gonna say, and I just speak slower and with more intention. I wanna make sure that what I'm saying ideally comes across the way that I intend it to. And I think
Mm-hmm.
my life is a constant process of improving my communication, how I say things, what words I use, what tone I use. And obviously, with the job that I'm in, is I've also had to be very intentional with that. And it's worked in my favor because it's helped improve the way that I communicate. But I would say now, I don't filter what I say for someone else's comfort, but I also am not really hard. I'm in the middle of like, okay, let me think with intention before I speak and be very mindful of the other person, but still say what I need to say, but also have empathy and just be conscious of someone else as a human being in front of me and what that might feel like if I was on the other end receiving this type of communication, basically.
Another principle kind of like phrase I like is say state the fact, tell the truth. And oftentimes when you do that, it's very hard to go wrong. But we go back to empathy, and empathy requires editing, by the way.
Mhm.
So wisdom. So you've experienced both swing of the pendulum, so to speak. It's like, well, okay, now I gotta figure out, because people are people and we are human, then how do I use the empathy editor when I speak? Because if you want the person to receive what you're saying on the other side, then you gotta figure out, how do I transfer this information from me to them? I think I heard it saying there was like the guy that was building they had a castle. We're gonna say the castle was in Europe, and they wanted to transfer the castle from Europe to America. So now the person figured out, I will number all the stones of the castle. So when I take it apart and I rebuild it in America, I have the sequence properly so I can rebuild it. And I thought about information the same way. If I want the idea in my head to get to you the way it is, I gotta label the idea, number it, sequence it, and then so when I say it to you, you can rebuild it back in your mind like I said it. That requires skill. And it took me a while to get it. Like, if my goal is for you to receive what I'm saying, for you to build that castle in my head in your head, then how do I sequence it the right way?
Oh, it's a skill for sure. That's like, I think the Tony Robbins quote is, the quality of your life is the quality of your communication. And the person that's
Mm,
most flexible in their communication wins because, you know, I I took NLP. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's neuro
mhm,
linguistic programming, and it's basically the study of language. And I can see a car accident and see one thing, and you can see something totally different. And when we describe it to someone, a third person, they can perceive it totally different than both of us did. And I think
mhm.
that's just normal, but how you communicate it is such a skill to be able to communicate what you felt and saw and have the other person perceive it. But then another layer of it is they're seeing the world from their lens. So a
Mhm.
concept in NLP is, we take in like 65 million bits of information, but our brain is only able to pick up about like 113. Those numbers are a little bit off, but basically that's
Mhm.
113 versus a couple million, and
Mhm.
it goes through our lens and our filter and our experiences. So I might say a sentence and it might not phase you, but then I say it to someone else and it really phases them
Mhm.
because of their own personal experiences. So that also, that within how you say it, those are so many layers of how someone perceives what you're saying.
Yeah, the empathy stack. I have challenge in saying th word, by the way. You're gonna notice when I speak,
That's
like
okay.
I was trying to say the whole word, like math, this complete spelling. I was like struggling. But yeah, it is interesting how we find out how we are good at communication because of how other people receive it. So I have another one for you. And this one says, do not focus on getting into shape. Focus on becoming the kind of person who misses no workouts. I'm curious, what pops in your head when you hear that statement? What story comes to mind for you?
Yeah, so good. This takes me back to the days that I started doing personal growth work and manifestation work and building my coaching business. And one of my first coaches, actually my first business coach, said to me, when you think of your future self, what does she do? What does she think? What does she believe? What are her habits? What are her routines? You want this life. Well, what is that version of you who lives that life? Start living her now. And
Mm,
so when I think about that, it's not just the workouts, it's the identity of someone who prioritized that as a lifestyle. So I had to really think, okay, well, if I'm this person that wants to not work a 9 to 5 because that's the place I was in, and I want to be a business owner, and I want to wake up and I want to take my time in the morning and journal and take a bath and whatever, what do I need to do now? Okay, I need to get up earlier so I can do that now. And then I go to my 9 to 5 job. And I kept doing that in a routine. Like I kept basically doing the habits that my future self would have been doing when I left my 9 to 5 job. I started saying out loud every single day what I believed to be true, even in the moment if I didn't believe that to be true, over and over and over until I basically brainwashed myself. And then it was like, oh, okay, I do feel different. Like this does feel like things are shifting for me. And I
mhm,
also think when it comes to that example specifically with the gym, because I was a person that would like go and work out and then not and binge eat and do back and forth for years, like the yo-yo dieting, right? And after a while, it was my core values changed
mm,
because when the pain got so real that I was basically done with my own bullshit, that's when I made the change into like gym and healthy living as a lifestyle is who I am as a person. But it wasn't
mm,
until that pain became so real that health became a top value and priority of mine that I then decided, okay, this is like something that I cannot negotiate on. And I think that that comes with a lot of self-awareness of what are the habits and things that you want to do, that and how do they make you feel, and how do they make you feel when you're not doing them? Because for me specifically for that, it was if I don't go to the gym, my mental health is not well. If I eat crappy, I'm exhausted and I have like
Mhm.
allergies or I get sick or I have no energies. So like basically taking a step back and really taking inventory, I think in addition to everything else that I mentioned, like those are all important things to do if you want to actually have that be part of who you are versus just
Mm.
wanting to lose the weight.
It kind of ties into this one statement I heard. So he says, practice the habits of where you're going, not where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Because, and you don't wait to practice being wealthy. You practice being wealthy now and it makes you wealthy, right? It's like the same thing is like you gotta become it, you gotta do it before you become it, not when you become it doing it, because you're not gonna get there if you don't start doing it now. It's important. It's
Well,
important.
exactly. It's the law of attraction. Like you're not gonna attract like something on that same frequency. If you're down here and you're in scarcity mindset and you're not taking care of yourself and you're eating fast food and yet you want abundance and like a partner that works out and all this money coming in, like you're not a match to that. So I always used to say you attract what you are, not what you
Hmm.
want. So become what you
Hmm.
want and then you'll attract that.
It's very simple. You ever heard of the concept of question and answer? I can give you an answer you don't have a question for. Neither can give you a question you don't have an answer for.
Mhm.
So if I give you an answer for a question you don't have, the answer have nowhere to go because you're attracting the thing. So you have to be the container for the thing that's coming. And oftentimes we don't notice that. It was like, I want this. Well, are you the thing that's going to deposit into it? Are you the container
Exactly.
for it?
Yeah. Well, are
Mm.
you at the level of person that can hold that? You know, like
Mm.
why do you deserve to have that? Like you're not showing that you're ready for that. You know, someone who wants to be super in shape and has a partner that is really aligned with them and has a successful business, but someone who has habits that are not in alignment with that. If you had that, one, you probably wouldn't even see it if it slapped you in the face. And two, you wouldn't be able to hold that container because you haven't become the person that can actually hold that.
Powerful. I got more. Let me see what's next on my list here. Okay. This one says, to be interesting, just tell your own story with uncommon honesty. And I know Rauthentic is your thing, but I want to see how it aligns with uncommon honesty. What comes for you? What comes to mind for you? Story.
With uncommon honesty. Yeah, aside from just being like myself, I think being interested in other people also makes you
Hmm.
interesting because you get to know who they are. And when you create interest in other people and allow them to open up and share with you, and you create a container of safety where someone feels safe to open up to you, then it's like they're more open to not only be interested in you, but to receive whatever you're willing to give them in terms of uncommon honesty. And so I find that I have ability to connect with people deeply because I really see people for who they are and create a space of acceptance and non-judgment and vulnerability, and I really live and breathe authenticity within myself and within others. So I think that allowing that person to feel that safety to then have that conversation, when you build that trust and safety, that's when the more honest conversations can happen. Because I've had moments where I've talked to someone for 30 minutes and we didn't know each other at all 30 minutes ago, but then we had such an in-depth conversation where that trust was built, and it's like, hey, can I be really honest with you about what I'm seeing? And they're more
Mm.
open to receive that versus me just like passing off my judgment without actually giving them a moment to get to know who they are and giving them a moment to feel safe with me to receive that. Because if people don't know you and don't trust you, they're not really gonna take your honesty too well. That's usually will come with like some defensiveness, and yeah, just not great in my experience.
Follow-up question. Then when can you remember a time where you felt the most unsafe in your life? Like, you have that thought ever popped in your head? Or you feel the
The
most
most
unsafe in your life?
unsafe in my
Unsafe.
life?
Mm-hmm.
Whew, a lot of moments. The most recent, the relationship. that I was there. I felt very unsafe because I felt like I had to tiptoe and hide every part of myself for acceptance and love from this person. And I couldn't joke. I couldn't have my sense of humor. I couldn't talk about my past. I couldn't talk about the experiences that made me me. Yeah, I really just had to really talk about like thinking and editing yourself. I had to like off of really silly things that I thought were just funny, I was, like, then criticized for it, and yeah, I felt very unsafe to just be me.
This is interesting. Safety for you feels like being able to share you, being able to open up about you, being able to present you to the world. That's a form of safety for you versus unsafe is like I can't be able to share myself. This is interesting. What else makes you feel safe?
What else makes me feel safe?
Hmm.
In terms of, like, being myself or just in general safety?
Whatever's going to impact somebody that's thinking through the lens of when you're saying that being able to share who you are, being able to be
Mhm.
you makes you feel more safe, then I'm thinking what else makes you feel more safe? 'Cause you
Knowing that I have the support of my family and friends, like, that I can go to, that I know will be there, being in an environment that's supportive to me, yeah, I would say those are the main things, having community, family, and friends that will support me no matter what,
Mm.
and being in an environment where I can thrive with others, so that's big for me.
I'm assuming that's probably what you would provide when you was coaching.
Yes. Absolutely.
I feel it. I feel it. Okay, let's try this other one. The consistency of your endeavor is more important than the quantity. Small things done each day matters more than what you do occasionally. What story comes to mind when you hear those words?
The story that comes to mind when I hear that is I started taking piano lessons last year, and I have
Mm,
them once a week for an hour. And I switched teachers, so there was like a couple of months, like maybe 2 months, where I wasn't working with a teacher, and I was kind of just doing it on my own. And when I hired this new teacher, he's like every single day, like just plan for 21 minutes a day. You sit at the piano every day. And I'm like, oh, that's so much more attainable than what I was putting on myself, which was like an hour or 45 minutes every single day. And then I started doing that and I really noticed like my progression in piano. And then, you know, I'll just own it. It's an excuse. I've put more of things on my plate than I'm capable of handling at one time, and I can't do everything like I it's worse for me to take on 15 things and do them at 10% than to take on 2 and do them at 100. So, I lately have only been showing up to our lessons once a week for an hour, and he's like, "Did you practice at all this week?" I said, "No." He's like, "Not at all." I said, "No." He's like, "Just sit at the piano. Like, don't even have the goal to play, just sit." And I noticed the
mm,
difference with not doing, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. It's such an attainable goal, but I've just been not doing it. And I can tell that my progression has gone a little bit backwards. And the things that I would normally pick up pretty quickly, it's like I'm playing catch up right now. So that is definitely something that going back to your very first question, that I could probably be more consistent with is practicing my piano.
Wait a minute.
It's
Wait a minute.
hard though.
Where is this desire for playing piano comes from? Like, wait, what happened? How does this trickle onto you?
So growing up, I played violin for 7 years. Music is a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of my life. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love playing. And back in the day, I wanted to be a professional musician, like to be in the orchestra playing like for movie soundtracks, like type of fate.
What?
Yeah, and I always wanted to produce my own music. I go to music, festivals and concerts, and it's my favorite thing in the entire world, like, just that is, like, my life, and so when I play, I just enjoy the progression of it and just the process and working that side of my brain when I'm in such a very masculine, like, doing, entrepreneurship type of mindset 99% of the time, having that other side of my brain work where I can get into my feminine flow and creativity and just really sink into that is super enjoyable for me. But I do get into this like again, the productivity, like, I have to get shit done mindset, and, like, that gets pushed to the wayside because my thing is, like, I need to develop my speaking skills because I need to
Mm.
do this and achieve this, and then the music goes to the wayside. So,
Mm.
that's something that I really need to, get back to, and I've been away from a little bit the last, like, couple of months with travel and just with starting Toastmasters and preparing for speeches and doing a whole myriad of other things all at the same
Mm.
time. It's kind of, been pushed to the side, which makes me sad because I do love it.
This episode is sponsored by Life Changing Wisdom Marketplace, the home for authors who own their stories and their business. Your book, your merch, your audience. One storefront, you keep 80%, you own your customer list. You build a relationship, real relationship with the readers. If that sounds like the way you want to run your business, visit lifechangingwisdom.com.
I'm gonna dig into this one a little bit because I'm curious. I'm curious about the
Okay.
music part
Yeah.
because the music gene or the music desire. I mean, I think it solves so many different things in our life. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of music like I used to, but like my memory is sharper when it comes to like I remember a song, I remember this music, I could remember the song, and it takes me to a place sometimes. Like I remember what I was feeling when I was at that place because of the music.
Mhm.
So like I'm anchoring to the music of my
Anchoring, yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say like you wanted to produce, you wanted to create, you wanted to do it,
Mhm.
but then what happened?
You know what? I'll be really honest. What I've kind of figured out what it is I just really thrive in community. I'm such a people
Mm.
person. I'm a community person, and whenever I do things that are solo, they just feel very lonely. And so, like,
Mm.
if it comes to, like, going to a class where there's more people there, like, that is like, "Oh, I look forward to that," or, like, "I look forward to our lessons because him and I are together, and, like, he's
Mhm.
teaching me stuff, and we're doing it together." But when it comes to me doing it on my own, after being in my house all day working from home and, like, not being around people, I'm like, "Ah, I'd rather, like, be around people right now," you know? So it's not that I don't wanna play my piano, it's I really just miss the connection of human to human. And so when I think
Mhm.
about producing music, like I one of the things I signed up for this year and what I am guilty and catch myself doing is I do nothing or I do everything. Like there's very much not a middle. And I put so much on my plate because I'm so excited. I want to do this and do that and do this and do that. And then when I actually have it all, I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to do all this? So earlier when I joined Toastmasters, the same exact time I signed up for this course to learn how to produce music. So I was like
Mm.
putting my pen to the paper, I was watching the videos, I downloaded the software, I was doing it. And not only with the time commitment that was needed on top of Toastmasters piano, and I also take dance lessons and I work and I travel and I do the podcast, like all these things, I was like, I just want to be with people. So I
Mhm.
stepped back and I stepped back from the course and I said, "Okay, music production is something I know I will do." But I also same with my podcast. I relaunched it, but I ideally want to have a podcast with another person because I
Mhm.
genuinely enjoy the conversations and the connection, the communication, and just the community aspect of it. So in all things that I'm doing moving forward, I'm trying to set myself up for success by doing them with an aspect of knowing that there will be a community aspect to it because then that
Mhm.
motivates me more to actually show up.
This is interesting discovery, Tiana,
Yeah.
that she is a community person. He's a
Huge.
community person. Huge. All right, we're gonna talk about that another time. I'm off to come back to that one. We're gonna put a pin in that one. Okay, on this other question, this other statement here. The thing that made you weird as a kid could make you great as an adult if you do not lose it. Oh, well, we're just talking about music. Okay, so what comes to mind when you hear that one?
Thing that makes me weird.
As a kid?
Um,
Well, it doesn't have to
uh,
be weird.
yeah, I would say the thing that comes to my mind first, maybe isn't weird, but something that I always got criticized or like poked for was the fact that I ask a lot of questions and that I constantly like have an answer to everything. Like I'm
Mm.
constantly almost like challenging the status quo, challenging authority. Like my mom growing up, it was always like, why this, why that? I wanted to know. And now in my
Mhm.
life now, I like to deep dive on topics that really interest me, and I like to go really, really deep with people because I wanna know, who are you? What
Hmm.
experiences shaped the person that is in front of me right now? Why do you think this way? Why do you feel this way? What happened? And so those things have helped me in my professional life because that obviously is all about coaching. And I also think that it's allowed me to develop an understanding of wisdom within myself, but within others, and then I can then speak from that in what the message is that I'm trying to portray because I don't just stop at surface level. I wanna go deeper and I wanna ask questions even more. So, I don't know if that's, like, weird, but that's just something that I never just settled for, like, a this is what it is, and, like, if you ask my mom, I would always ask, "Why? Why?" "Because I said so." I'm like, "That's not gonna work. I wanna know why."
Hmm.
You know, and it's like, your the kids, they challenge you, but I genuinely wanted to understand. I'm a very analytical person, so I wanna understand things at a depth, so then I can then almost, not collect them, but, like, sync them so then I can then share them in my own way with my own wisdom and experience.
Did you take physics in school? Do
Mhm.
you like physics?
I
Did
got
you
an A
like
in
physics?
physics. Mm.
Oh, I wonder why. I mean, I don't remember much physics, but when I read physics books or stuff, I can understand like because pretty much everything kind of comes from physics. So it's like the place you can get really curious, gets a lot of questions like where did this come from? Like just like even in spiritual, you ask like, okay, so how did we get here? Where did the world come from? Somebody might like, well, they say evolution it came from the Big Bang. Where did the Big Bang came from, right? And where did the thing before the Big Bang? So it's like I'm always like, when somebody give me an answer, I'm like, okay, so what was before that, right? So it's always the questions like I'm very similar to you. I'm always got more questions because if there's an answer I can't question, then I can't settle for it. I'm questioning
Totally.
everything. That's just my mind.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I love
Hmm.
quantum physics too. Quantum physics, energy, like, all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm big into all that.
Interesting. Okay, here's another one. Says bad things can happen fast, but almost all good things happen slowly. What comes to mind for
Mm.
you? What story comes to mind for you?
Bad things happen fast, but good things happen slowly. I think this is really based on perception.
Mm,
I think it's what it goes back to energy, like, what you focus on expands. And I think bad things can happen quick, but I feel like a lot of good things happen to me quick as well. Like,
mm,
I think of where I was mentally the beginning of this year and how quickly things shifted for me and how many parts are starting to move, and it's almost like, "Holy crap, like, this is happening really fast." So, I think that that's really just person's up to perspective and what the person's focusing on, because if you're focusing on the bad things, then you're gonna get more. If you're focusing on the good things, you're gonna get more. I think bad and good things both come quickly and slowly. It just really depends on, yeah, and also not no one thing is by definition bad or good.
mm,
Like, you have to be the observer. It's very objective. So, like, for example, you ask someone, "How was 2020?" And you have this half that says that was the worst year ever, and then you have this half say this was the best year ever, and it's all about your perspective, because if you look at it from a lens of, "Oh, I lost my job and, like, this person died and la la la," like, okay, those are facts that those things did happen, but I look at things of like, okay, well, who was I able to become because of these things that happen in the process? And then I see it from a different lens and I see it as a good time period. So I think that's really like just objective.
He's wise. He's really wise. I like the statement around the thing that we think is bad is a matter of perspective because it is so true. And then, I mean, I know you're a spiritual person too. And I'm on the side of there's no good and bad on a scale. Like if because something might look wrong, but give it 1,000 years, it might be right. But when you look at it, say if there's a person that's looking at all of this thing and you see the whole picture, and this might look really wrong, but it's not. It might look really bad, but on a longer scale, it might not be. So then when we could say this thing is wrong or it's right or it's bad or it's good, is because of the little piece of it. And so there is, so when you think about things long term, you can judge it based on your little moment right now. Can you see it longer term? And I like the saying that, wise people think in decades or more, because in a 10-year period you can really measure and see something, but day to day, year to year, it's kind of very hard to kind of tell. And sometimes we just beat upon ourselves about something that happens um this year, but then, for example, you go into a really bad experience, and that really experience you think is bad. In that experience, it gave you a key for a door 15 years down the road. Now imagine if you find a way to avoid that experience, but get down the road 15 years and realize you need that key for that door, but it's back there 15 years in the back.
Exactly.
So then,
Yep.
no, you can't open the door. No, you gotta go all the way back to find the key to come back, right? That means you gotta go through. So it's like you just gotta appreciate the thing that seems bad now, because you might pick up something there to take to the next location that is a key for that thing, and you can't get past it without
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. And like I said, I never am upset about the hard times I've experienced because I always know because I create in my mind something called the evidence box. And in the
Mm.
evidence box is what are all the moments where, and it goes to the story of the speech that I'm crafting, is what are all the moments in your life where you thought, I can't handle this anymore, or this is the worst period of my life ever, or how can things get worse? And then fast forward and look back and see where it took you and what you were, the person you were able to become in the process, and what opportunities came from that experience, putting them in your evidence box. So now I know, like, okay, stuff's really hard right now, but that's life. It's going to go like this. It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's not always going to be bad. Everything in life is temporary. So if you can really just, I mean, literally learn how to suffer well and learn how to still be content and trust and have faith and surrender in that suffering, and knowing that this is actually happening for the best good of you and your future, even if it doesn't feel like that, the more quickly you can come to that acceptance, the quicker you're going to get out of it. And then when you get out
That's
of it, you look back and say, wow, I'm so glad that that happened.
evidence box.
Mhm.
I think that's a great book title, by the way.
That is a good book
No,
title.
that's a great evidence box. What is in this evidence box? Wow, I mean, I know it's just a speech title now, but I think that's a really good one, by the way. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the other one. It is much easier to change how you think by changing your behavior than it is to change your behavior by changing how you think. Act out the change you seek. Yeah, we kind of touched on that, but I want to hear what comes to mind for you. What story pops in your head just now?
Yeah, so I think it's more just like not always acting on emotions. It's like you have to just show up and do things. And like going back to the gym, right? It's like, okay, you think, okay, I don't want to go to the gym. This is going to be hard. Like, I don't like how I look or blah, 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 whatever it is, like fill in the blank. If you just literally put your shoes on and do something enough times, you will start to think differently. But if you're focused only on your feelings and your thoughts, you're not going to want to do it. You just have to put in force the action that is needed to get to what it is that you want, and the thoughts will change in the process. It's like goes back to the whole like, what does your future self do? What do they think? What are their habits? What are their behaviors? And start taking the action to be that person today. Because the more that you do that, then in the process, your thoughts are going to change.
This is a powerful statement. You think deeply about it, because oftentimes we think that the mind is concrete, but it's not. Like the mind is the most malleable thing. Like behavior is not easy. So I'm a big fan of Neville Goddard. He has the idea around like state dictate performance, meaning that whatever state you access dictate how you perform. So then if you can find a way to access a different state of mind, then it's easier for everything else to follow, because in that state is packed with the laws and the rules and the principles. For example, you think about a country or a state, right? Each state has their own rules. Each country got their own rules. The same way in your mind. The package is kind of very similar. You go to you in where you're in now, you're in Colorado. But if you go to North Carolina state got different rules and laws. You go there, you're gonna have to behave based on those rules. You switch state and the rules change, you gotta behave based on the rules. So the state dictate your performance, how you perform. So when I learned, I was like, oh man. So it's easier for me to access a state, change my mind. My mind caused me to change my behavior. And it's much easier to change my mind than my behavior because it's easier to move the spiritual and the physical. But oftentimes we push on the physical, like, no, you gotta change your mind because your mind gonna go, if your mind gonna talk you out of the physical. Because the mind talks to you, physical doesn't talk to you that much. I mean, it does. Your body speaks to you, but the mind is in so much control. And if you can change it, a lot of other things change. But sometimes
That
people are so
is true.
concrete, they're concrete in their belief, and it's very hard for them to change their mind.
Very true and very good point too. And what I think of with that is when I used to work with my clients, and they were in a certain state, what we would do is
Mhm.
basically get them into a visualization where they would then visualize these moments. Say if they were like nervous. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
close your eyes. Think of a moment where you were super motivated or super excited and just load up those feelings, okay? And then anchor them in. And once like the
Mhm.
feeling kind of goes away, like it's like the peak and then it starts to go away, you take your finger off. Then it's like, okay, you're closing your eyes, you're thinking of another moment where you're really excited, really motivated. Okay, when that feeling starts to load up, you anchor it in again. And you have multiple like stacking moments because they say you need like 5 positive moments to kind of negate like one negative
Mhm.
one. So if you're feeling very nervous or not confident or scared and you want to feel the opposite, then start to visualize. It's like what athletes do when they want to win a match, like a Michael Phelps wants to win a swim match or Michael Jordan wants to, whatever, like any kind of sport, right? They mentally
Mhm.
rehearse what it is
Mhm.
that they want to create. So you're loading up the feelings, or you can load up feelings that you want to feel or past feelings, but you want to anchor in that. Then when you come out of it, your behavior and your actions are different. So it's like there's two ways to look at it. It's like the example I gave before. It's like you just do it and then eventually like your thoughts will change, which is the harder route, but the easier route is really just anchoring in and mentally rehearsing what does it feel like when I do feel confident and excited and start to focus on that and then your behaviors are different.
I tell you, she's wise. She is wise. All right. I got a few more things before we wrap up here. And I'm gonna ask these one in order here. So I want to get your thoughts. So a TV show or film you have found yourself returning to lately.
A TV show I've found myself returning to lately.
Or film that you find yourself returning to lately.
Okay, we're in the spirit of Rauthentic. This is embarrassing. Well, here's what I'll say. I'm not really a big TV person in general. But there are some TV shows that I like. I could just watch for hours, and like I just finished Survivor. I
I want
watched.
the raw authentic.
Yes, I watched Survivor. I just finished it. Now I'm like, oh man, I love reality game shows. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything that is like people together, social experiment, because I love to see how different like people interact and different like just personalities. It's really fascinating to me. But then like the aspect of it being a competition and strategy, I love that. So Survivor and Big Brother, I love those. Survivor ended, Big Brother hasn't started, and my guilty pleasure, embarrassingly, is Love Island, and I don't know why. It's trash TV. I'm focused on business and entrepreneurship and personal growth 99% of the time. That sometimes I just like to just turn it off and put something on that literally I don't have to think about. And right now, that's Love Island.
It's embarrassing, but she likes it.
It's filling the spot for now before Big Brother comes on. Once Big Brother comes on, I kick Love Island to the curb. It's like my filler show when I like just want to turn my brain off and like I don't have to think about anything.
Nah, you're human, my friend. You're human. We all are human.
But I
Okay,
am
next.
rewatching The Chosen also. I watched The Chosen all the way through in like a month and I'm rewatching that as well. So that's a really good
Mm,
show.
okay, next question. Three books you recommend to a friend, you would recommend to a friend right now.
Ooh. The Mountain Is You by Brianna West was a really, really powerful book that I read. Let's see. I have like books on my bookshelf. There's so many that I could recommend. I would say Celestine Prophecy. Already
Mm-hmm.
forgot the author. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. And the third one would be The Mountain Is You by Brianna West.
Got him, got him, got him, got him. All right. Here's another one. A product or tool you have been using that has been a game changer for you.
Product or tool I've been using that's been a game changer. Oh, ChatGPT. That's definitely been a game changer. It helps really give me creative ideas and help me structure things, really well. And the world is moving towards AI. I'm not like huge in knowing how to make the perfect prompt and to have it do everything that, a lot of people know how to do. I'm very behind on that, I will say. I'm more like a boomer in the internet age on when it comes to AI right now. But I think that it's serving its purpose right now. Um, yeah.
Okay, see the boomer.
Yeah, I'm
How
a boomer
how is
for
that
AI.
possible? How is that possible?
I just haven't
Um,
spent the time to like learn about AI. It's one of those things where it's like another thing I want to do, but like priorities,
you
I
you
have
you,
to.
you probably should let's put this. He say you're a silent generation when it comes to AI. I'm saying. Okay, last one. A community you have been finding real value in lately.
My church community.
Church
Yeah.
community.
Yep. I recently I didn't grow up religious at all, and that's one thing I will say I'm very grateful for my past relationship is he brought me to God, and he
Hmm.
he grew up in a faith-based household, and his parents were very religious, and I felt like something was missing. I went down the line of faith and found an incredible church here. Just got baptized in April, and I
I saw that
absolutely,
video.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I've just found such an amazing group of people that I've always wanted. Just like ride or die people that I know will have my back and that are have depth and just have the best hearts and yeah. So I'm really enjoying them.
I got more questions on this topic. You said you found spirituality, found that, and you said something was missing. So what would that missing thing feel like?
Yeah, so when I started, because I didn't grow up religious or spiritual, when I started my first business in 2019, that's when I really went down the spiritual path. Because I mean, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, that is like the most spiritual thing I think you will ever do,
Mm.
in my opinion. Like you have to face every single part of yourselves, fears, shadows, blocks, if you want to be successful in business, in my opinion. If you want to be, reach the top of what you're capable of. And so I was going through that spirituality, but I just felt alone and I was trying to go at it on my own and like fix myself and like heal myself and then everything will work. And I just realized that I can't do it alone. I need other people. And so when I was living in Tampa, Florida, or St. Pete area, I had joined a faith-based mastermind group in Tampa, Florida. And they would basically talk about entrepreneurship, but like would fuse in scripture. And I was like, I don't really like know if that's like my vibe, but the people that were there, I just felt good. So I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. And I started to just study successful people, wealthy people, people that had good marriages, good family lives, and kind of like the common denominator across all of those was God. And I was like, okay, maybe there's like something to this. And then I went to a couple churches in Tampa, wasn't really like and in Vegas, and wasn't really like it wasn't for me. Like
Mhm.
it it just didn't feel like it was my place. Then when I moved to Colorado and I went to the church here, it was the first time I walked in those doors and I was like, "Whoa. Like I'm meant to be here." Like I don't
Mhm.
know, it was just like an overwhelming sense of feeling in my body. And I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna like convert to, this religion or whatever, but let me just go every Sunday and like see how this feels. And I just can't explain like every week that I would come, I just felt different. I felt more connected. I felt more like at peace, like all the anxiety that I was feeling. I just felt more like trusting. I felt like, okay, I'm actually good. Like I'm
Mhm.
always evidence box. Every time I didn't think that I was okay, I was always okay, and things always worked out. So, knowing that here, I felt it in my body. And so, kind of the turning point for me was when I was with my ex-fiance, I looked at him and I said, I think I wanna find out how I can go about, like, converting and getting baptized and doing this. And up until that point, it was like 9 months of going to church every Sunday. It was only the priest that talked and like, that was pretty much it. That day, after I said that to him 10 minutes later, there's 3 women that came up on the altar and they were like, "Yeah, if you're an adult, interested in becoming Catholic, like come talk to us after mass." And I was like, That's crazy. So it just like it was like
Mm,
I had asked for it and it was like, boom, okay, this is where you're meant to be. And since that, like I said, I grew up an only child and I've been single a lot of my life. Like I've had relationships, but I've been single a lot and I've been very independent and I've always tried to like do everything on my own. And what they preach in church is just like you're not meant to do it alone. Like you're meant to walk with family and with community. And it was the first time that I felt like I was just completely taken in with full arms from a group of people that accepted me for me and gave me something that I'd always been missing, which was just like acceptance and belonging in a place no matter who I was and what I came from, and people that actually show up for you because I'm very much a person that if you're my person, like my people, like I will show up tooth and nail no matter what. Like I've got you. And I always gave that, but I felt it was really hard for me to get that reciprocated. And these people gave that to me before I gave anything. And
mm.
so it was like, wow, I feel like I actually found what I was looking for and I feel so like taken care of and so supported in everything that I do. And I know I was just talking because I went over to a couple friends from my church last night to their house for dinner. And I said, I feel like I could literally call anyone in this church, whether I have had one conversation or 15 conversations, and I could say, I'm broke down on the highway 3 hours away, and they would drop everything and come get me. And that's the person that I am. So being able to have that reciprocation has just been everything.
That's great. Last question before we wrap up. If Rauthentic was what you see in your head right now, what would that look like? And what is the smallest version of that you could build this month?
If Authentic turned out to what I envision, without
Mhm.
pressure, but just organically, it would be having more conversations like this, more in-depth conversations with people, connecting, having honest conversations, sharing stories, sharing hardships, sharing lessons, sharing wisdom, and doing it more frequently. Again, collaboration, communication, community. It would also be eventually I've visualized like having a live podcast like show with like a live audience where like it would be super cool to have like a partner in it and do it with somebody and be able to like have these conversations in front of a live audience and get the word out more and just inspire more people to really speak their truth and allow them to show up messy and unfiltered and raw and know that their story is going to help a lot of people if they have the courage to share their voice. In a way that I can start that now is definitely get back on the mic. It's been about a month and a half, I think, since I put out a new episode, and I actually have it on my list depending on how my how I'm feeling. I'm feeling really good right now because I took a lot of Dayquil, but depending on how I'm feeling tomorrow, will dictate, what I'm able to pump out. But I think also reaching out to people because so far my episodes have all been solo and I would like to do more collaborative type of conversational um podcast episodes. So that's definitely something that I can look into doing.
So then if you we go- my other podcast is called Idea Tennis. So
Mhm.
it's me and my other partner. We just kind of go idea back and forth. But
That's
if you're thinking about the Idea Tennis version, so the other person on the other side of the court for you when it comes to your podcast, like what kind of person you imagine that person being for you to swing the bat back and forth with?
mm. Someone who's not afraid to go there. I think someone that is also like, down to get raw, down to have the hard conversations, to be vulnerable, and also someone who has done a lot of work and has had, has been in this personal development, personal growth. They're driven, they're ambitious, they know what they want, they take risks, they have courage. And yeah, just someone that can kind of match me, like to be on that level, but different in the way that we can challenge each other, whether that's what we believe or how we go, for things or yeah, just different perspectives I think are important. I have my best friend Allie who we had brainstormed a couple of years ago doing a podcast together and there's so many things that we could talk about, but we are very similar and I don't want like someone that's super super similar to me. Like I want to be able to idea tennis off of them and have different perspectives because I think that multiple perspectives in a conversation is important and necessary. So yeah, just someone
Hmm.
that's open, authentic, raw, and someone that has done the work and is on the path.
Well, I hope that person like found you like when you'd say you want to be baptized and the next day was like, right? You saw it in the
Yep.
universe, my friend.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I think we are at the end of this session, so I would love to know what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation, if you don't mind sharing.
Mm. Probably my biggest takeaway is just I love doing this. Like, I wanna do
Mm,
more of this. I think that, like I said, coming into this, I was not feeling good physically because I'm getting coming down with something, but this energizes me. Even when I feel like I'm tired and don't wanna do something, like, being in community and connecting with others and having these conversations is something that really fuels me, and I need to find a way to do this more because that's really what
mm,
brings me joy.
I concur. I would wrap with this too because I did my time in the military and I switched over, and
Thank
I
you
was
for
like,
your
I want to do
service.
community. You were worth the sacrifice. I wanted to do this more, right? And I felt like I was cut off from my brotherhood, because what I was pursuing was more entrepreneurial stuff, and it's like completely different from the military. I also didn't feel like I had the community anymore. I just felt like I was a lone lost wolf, so to speak, until I find my tribe again, whatever. But it was a lot of work, and when I find some people, I was like, man, I miss this, I miss this, I miss the camaraderie, the connection, the brotherhood. So it's always good to have community. It's one of the best things. I don't think we're meant to be alone. Even in the Bible says it's not good for men to be alone, nor a woman, because we need each other, and there is a void in all of us for the other person. Like, as much as we wanna, there's a void in us for the other person. So we just gotta figure out how do we find them, the right people that's gonna help us enjoy the void, right? So with that, my friend, make it a utterly, utterly fantastic afternoon.
Thank you so much, Asher. You as well.